Hello, this is Rob Mazak, and I'd like to take a moment to welcome you to the Life by Mazak podcast channel. Here on this channel, anything is possible. Any subject will and usually is discussed, and there's no telling how this message will unfold as we work through an idea, through an experience, or through a thought. These subjects come from the vast amount of information and experience through spirit, through life lessons, and from working with a lot of other people. Scripts are never used on this channel, and the message simply unfolds as the subject is discussed. Follow along and see where it leads us, or more specifically, where it leads me. These podcasts are produced in the hopes of helping others to benefit, to grow, and to excel in their own human experience. At Life by Mazak, we work towards helping you achieve wellness for your mind, your body, and your soul using many specialized services. Services that include psychic medium and tarot readings, quantum healing hypnosis, past life regression, intuitive Reiki healing, life coaching, and many other services. If you enjoyed this podcast, please click the like button and share this with others. Our goal is to reach as many people as we can with the knowledge that is shared on this podcast channel. For me, it's night, so I'll say tonight. For you, it may be something else. But what I wanted to talk about was balance. Now, I've talked about balance quite a lot in my podcasting experience, putting together these videos for you guys. And for myself, I'm talking to myself as well. But I heard a really completely different spin on balance tonight that I never really thought about it as balance. My wife brought this up to me on my drive home or back to my RV where I stay during the week, that I should listen to Wayne Dyer and his topic about balance. I've listened to Wayne Dyer quite often. Wayne Dyer is not with us anymore, but he has a lot of great material. If you're not familiar with him, it's worth to listen to. I think you should give it a go, especially when he talks about his year-long quest after selling all of his belongings, moving to Hawaii, and doing nothing but studying and meditating and contemplating the Tao, written by Lao Tzu, old ancient philosopher. I guess ancient may not be the right word, but long ago. And it is a really interesting set of information that he puts out about it, and it really does help you, or at least help me understand the Tao a little bit better. But when he talks about balance, he talks about balance between what it is you want, or you think you want, and your thoughts to support that. I think that's in a nutshell. Most of us, when they think about balance, they think about, well, let's see, I got to balance how much I work, how much I play, gotta have family time, you gotta have goals, you gotta have hobbies, got to pack all these things into your 24-hour day. Now, of course, balance in those respects is important, which we have talked about a lot on other podcasts. You do have to find time to do all the things that you really should be doing. Sometimes that's very difficult if you have a very demanding job, or a lot of problems in the family, or just a variety of different things that cause you to lean hard in one aspect of your life and disregard the others. And most of us, let's face it, will put aside our ambitions, our goals, our dreams to the distractions that have been placed in front of us. Whether they've been placed in front of us or we are the creator of our life, who knows? There's a lot of science and a lot of talk about that stuff. However, many times we forget that we have 24 hours in a day. A billionaire has 24 hours in a day. A bum has 24 hours in the day. So where do we find the difference? Perhaps it's a lot in time management. It could be energy management. It could be a lot of things. It could be just choices. But balance is good in that respect as well. But I've also talked about this a little bit as well. Balance all the time may not get you where you want to go in life. In other words, sometimes you have to go on the extreme sides of things to chase down the things that you want, things that you think you need, goals, dreams, all of that. Because if you're trying to balance things all the time, sometimes you don't go anywhere. Sometimes you kind of hover in the middle. Not necessarily a bad life, not saying it is, but most of us have great ideas, or at least we used to have great ideas about what our life should be, what it should look like. I mean, let's just face it, we would all love to be famous and rich and go places and travel and have anything we want, have chefs cook for us. I mean, you name it. I'm sure that there's a lot of high aspiring goals and dreams in all the people in the audience here. I have them. I'm sure you have them. But what Wayne Dyer really brings forth is the balance between, I guess I'd say, your communication with the universe or the source or God. For this podcast, we'll use the source as that ultimate creator or ultimate power outside of ourselves. So the source is the term we'll use on this podcast. You can put whatever title or name you want on that to help you understand what I'm saying. But the example he used in one of his videos was really interesting. That he sat down on a plane, sat next to this woman, just struck up conversation. So what do you do? Well, I'm a photographer. And he's asked her, said, well, so how's it going? She said, well, I'll never get rich doing it. And Wayne Dyer replied, well, how do you know? Is that the truth? Are you telling yourself the truth? Or are you telling yourself something that doesn't support your dream? Now, I really thought about that. He's like, the balance between what you want or what you think you want or what you think you need and your conversations to yourself and to the universe, to the source, is where the balance should be. You will never become rich or wealthy or whatever goal you have or whatever it is you're doing that you might consider a dream if you claim that you will never be successful at it, you'll never make a living at it, you'll never make a lot of money, be rich by doing what you love. Well, there's lots and lots and lots of examples of people out there that absolutely love what they do, and they make an awesome living at it, make lots and lots of money. And I tell you, I'll be honest, I've said that many times about what I do. Not so much my full-time job, my regular job, because I'm all in on that one. But I have said those very words, actually. Well, I'll probably never get rich doing these types of things, sitting behind this mic, doing psychic readings and hypnosis and all those things. So what does that do to our dream? What does that do to the confidence that the source has in us? So the source will work in our favor if we have a clear enough intention, we have a deliberate and consistent intention and work ethic. It will support everything we put out. So if I were to say, like I just said I have, I'll never get rich doing this, I'll never be able to pay the bills doing this, do you think I ever will? Likely not. For one thing, it's not just the source that listens to what we say. There's some really good evidence out there, scientifically based, through people like Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton is the other one, where literally every single cell in our body is just listening and acting on what we think, what we say, what we accept, what we do. Every cell in our body, which there's trillions of them, depending on which book you read, the number's not always the same, but there's a lot. Every one of those cells are like little privates, little soldiers that are just standing by to wait on guidance. And guess what? Most of us, including me, have said things that are very damaging to what our dream is all about. So we need to be very mindful and careful about what we say, what we think, and who we surround ourselves with that may influence our thinking, our speech. I say that because we are like an energetic sponge. We are being bombarded by so much information every second, 11 million bits of information per second, to be exact. Our consciousness is getting hit with that. And our conscious mind can only weed out about 40 bits of information per second. And the rest of it goes straight to the subconscious without a firewall. And it is the private as well, just waiting on direction, waiting on what it's told to do. And the subconscious is that part of your mind, that part of your consciousness that is always recording, as one of my more recent interviewees has said or has put it. I've never quite heard it that way, but that's a good way of putting it, that we are actually recording every second of the day. And the problem with that is that everything that we surround ourselves with, people, things, just about everything in our life has energy, and it exudes energy. It has an energetic signature, and those energy signatures, those energy patterns, that energy itself bombard our subconscious all day, every day. Even if we're sleeping, doesn't matter. It's affecting us all the time. And the subconscious, having been in record mode all our life, and it will probably never stop, is a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because we don't have to relearn to walk unless we've had an accident, learn to rewrite. We don't have to learn to drive again. We don't have to learn to speak again. There's many things that we do every day, all the time, every second of our day, that we don't have to think about. No conscious effort is involved whatsoever, and it's just like automatic pilot. And it's literally about 95% of what we do every day is run by an underlying consciousness that we don't have direct access to, or at least consciously have direct access to. So we are affected by our circumstances, our music, our pictures, our symbology. Watching those movies, it's like, it's just a movie, but the TV is probably one of the worst ones as far as going straight in, because the eyes actually have no filter whatsoever. Everything we visualize goes straight to our subconscious mind. There's that little private saluting, yes sir, we're going to get to work. And so we have to be mindful there. But the other thing is, if we purposely embed our subconscious with the things we would like to have in life, build that belief system, talk to ourselves through our thoughts, through our actual words, listen to some meditation, some words of affirmation in our headphones. There's a lot of ways to affect our subconscious, because our subconscious is going to roll unencumbered with all the programming it has, unless you figure out a way to change that. And changing that is not the easiest thing in the world. It does take time. You can build new pathways. You can do a lot of different things to rewire it or overwire it, so that you can begin to change the normal patterns that come in our life. So what I mean by automatic pilot is very simple. If we grew up poor, and that is what has been embedded in our subconscious as a child, for example, and we get into our adult life, and it seems like no matter what you try to do to get ahead, to become more wealthy, to become more abundant, nothing ever seems to work. It's like everything that shows up in your life is all about being poor or having very little money or abundance. It's because that's what your subconscious mind considers normal. It considers being poor normal. So anytime you try to go outside of the program, it pulls you back in. And if you don't know what's happening, or if you're not aware that it's happening, you will continue to be poor and non-abundant, if that's a word, your whole life. And you just don't understand. You think it's bad luck. You think it's just the luck of the draw. But in reality, it's the way you were programmed when you were young, or at any time in your life, but particularly young. From the ages of 0 through around 7, we learn by hypnosis. We learn how to survive in our environment by just soaking up the energy and seeing how things go in your life. And then your subconscious begins to develop the norms for you. So if you grow up poor, and that's all you've ever known, well, that's why a lot of people stay poor their whole life. It's not because they don't have the talent or the ability or the dreams or the ideas, but they just can't ever seem to get out of their own way. And I think that's what Wayne Dyer is trying to relay in his thinking, is that we have to begin to change that paradigm. We have to begin to balance what it is we want with what it is we believe. And belief is a very difficult thing. Belief is something that is probably the hardest part of this equation. I was telling my wife earlier the example that, well, you probably heard me say this before, is that belief in something that we want in life should be as strong as going onto Amazon, finding a product that you want, clicking the button, and hitting order, seeing what date is going to show up, getting off the computer, and never having a second thought that that thing is going to show up. You have absolute faith, absolute belief that it's going to show up. And maybe it'll be a day early, a day late, but it's showing up, right? Why can't we do that or adopt that kind of belief system in our lives with everything we do? Once again, I think it comes down to our programming, a programming that we don't even know exists deep down in the caverns of our mind that we don't have necessarily access to. So we have to do a much better job while we're consciously awake during the day and embed the things into our subconscious mind a little deeper and a little more consistently in order to develop a different type of program. I mean, this is the same thing in a computer. If you open up a program on your computer, like, say, Microsoft Outlook, you use that program and you do all kinds of things. You send emails, you receive emails, you go on a calendar, you do all these different things. And when you close the program, the computer resets it back to the norm of the program. It resets it back to a balance and a normal, and then waiting on the next time you use it. I believe our subconscious is very similar. Even if you try to pull away from it, you try to say affirmations for a little while, you try to self-talk, you try different things, but it always seems to try to pull you back. The programming is strong, very, very strong, and it is very difficult sometimes to get out of your own way. One way that Bruce Lipton talks about is doing a somewhat of a self-hypnosis kind of practice. Hypnosis itself is a very good way to do that. We can circle back on that if we have time in this podcast. But you can go to sleep at night with something in your headphones or on your headphones, tracks that embed positive affirmations or direction in your life or belief systems, positive things that is playing in your ears. And I say that, and he says that, doing it as you go to sleep or while you're sleeping is probably one of the most powerful ways to reprogram your subconscious or to program it with something else. Because when you go to sleep, what happens to your conscious mind? It turns off. If you're sleeping deep enough, your conscious mind is out of the way. Because I can tell you for sure that most of us that do hypnosis will call the conscious mind Mr. and Mrs. Stupid because it thinks it knows what's best. It thinks it's in charge, but it's really not. The only thing it's really in charge of is those little decisions we get to make each day, the things that we do deliberately, and it can help to program our subconscious mind. But when it's turned off at night, or in deep meditation sometimes, it can then accept anything it hears or sees, but if you're sleeping, obviously you're not seeing anything. You can pump great things into your ears and begin to program your subconscious with what you want it to hear. You get to direct the private instead of the rest of the world and all the things in your world and all the people in your world and all the things that you are surrounded by to program your subconscious. I mean, I don't know about you, but when you look back at your life and you look at your day, and you really realize why you leave work as tired as you do, at least I do, it's because everybody has been bombarding you with their energy and their thoughts, and their energy signature is being embedded and laden upon your subconscious. And if you don't do something to change that or correct that, you will be left with some of that residual effect, right? So sometimes you can't avoid being at work. We all need to make money. We all need to have some kind of subsistence to get by in this world, to have a house, to have a car, to have food, to have clothes. You need to work. And so you have to figure out how to counteract a lot of the things that are happening to you in your life. Now, I went a lot farther than just finding somebody's track, somebody's meditation track or affirmation track. I went and recorded myself telling myself the things that I would like my subconscious to hear and to know and to do. I figured there's no better way for my subconscious to get the message than to hear me say it over and over and over again. I did the little 15-minute bites and just put them all in a row so it just plays over and over and over. And that's one way to do it. And the other way to do that is positive affirmations. You got to do more than just that, of course, but that's one way to start because we talk so negatively to ourselves. I mean, it's just, I think, inherent in us, and it's just the way we're born as humans and wired as humans to be negative. We don't have to try to be negative. That's easy. Trying to be positive, now that's a whole other ballgame. Being positive, that energy has a lot more strength than a negative energy or a thought. So the more that you can have positive thoughts and positive affirmations, statements, writings, things that you listen to throughout the day, it can really help bolster your forward momentum. And let's just face it, most of us don't ever move forward at all. We kind of settle in on, oh, well, that's what life is. We'll never make any money at this. Bad on me, right? I mean, there's just so many things that we settle for. And I guess I don't understand that entirely. I guess in a way I do, because it's easy to stay in your comfort zone, right? And to never get out of any kind of balance, or to stay in balance, or to just stay where you are and play it safe. Well, let me tell you, people, I'm not saying you need to be reckless, but, we're not going to make it out of this life alive. It's not going to happen. So we are going to leave this place at some point or another. Why are we playing it safe just to end up in our grave with all our dreams and our ideas and our goals and all those things buried with us? I don't know about you, but being on my deathbed, looking back and having regrets, I think is probably the hardest thing that anybody could do, or I could do for sure. I want to be able to look back and see and say and experience the fact that I put a lot of effort into my life and tried things and did things and exceeded in things or succeeded in things that I wanted to do. Now, I'm not saying that you going and setting goals will ever mean that you reach those goals, but really, where is the learning? The learning is not so much in achieving the goals, climbing and reaching the top of the mountain. It is in the journey that you find yourself. It is in the struggles that you find yourself. It is in the struggles that you learn who you are, you become stronger. There's always going to be problems in this life. Always, always, always. Nobody ever has a perfect life, a perfect day. Maybe a perfect day once in a while, but it doesn't stay that way. Things don't come to pass. If they do, they just are replaced by other things. And so I do believe that if I was the creator of this source, if I wanted to create a human being that was going to grow and exceed and excel and evolve, I would not give them an easy life. That would not be anything I would ever do. But back to what Wayne Dyer was talking about. We must be very clear in our intentions. We must be careful what we say, what we think, so as not to program or to keep the subconscious mind in the state that it is. Because if we don't change something, nothing changes, correct? A lot of people will wish for change. They'll wish to be rich. They'll wish to be a star, wish to be a photographer, like the example Wayne Dyer was using. But wishing and not doing anything with it is going to get you nowhere. Wishing and not believing in what you're going to do will get you nowhere. Wishing without doing any work is not going to get you anywhere. There's a lot of parts of the equation, but I do want to emphasize that we must stay in balance between us and the source that we are getting our direction from, our guidance from, our source of all, that we must be very clear on that. Even if you look at biblical scriptures, we'll use the Bible for example. If you look at Jesus doing his miracles, I don't believe I've ever read anywhere that says Jesus just walked up and healed somebody. Whether the story is true or not, it's a very good point to bring home. He always asked what they were seeking, because perhaps they were okay with their affliction, or maybe they were okay with being blind. Maybe the need wasn't strong enough to heal. Maybe they were hungry. But that's the point, I think, in the lesson, is that what is it that you really want help with from the source? I'm not saying the source is going to give you everything you ask for. What I'm saying is that you must align with that. You must be in one accord with the source. But you can't be one accord with the source if you can't even be in one accord with yourself. Most of us don't achieve our dreams or our goals or whatever it is we're trying to get out of life because either we're trying to chase too many rabbits or we change our mind all the time. You know, one day we want this, the next day we want that. Most of us can't stay on one track for any length of time. And that is very, very difficult for the source, in my opinion, if they were listening to us, that they could ever figure out what it is you really want, because you change your mind all the time. You change your direction all the time. You change your beliefs all the time. So we got to figure out how to be consistent. I've heard a lot of motivational speakers talk about this. It's like, pick something, your passion, and do it the same. Do it every day, all the time, over and over and over again. If you listen to some of them, they say, I might be popular and I might be successful now and abundant and all that, but I've been doing the same thing for 20 years. I haven't changed anything, I just stayed with it. And so I think that's also a big part of balance, is that we have to figure out what it is we want, where we're going, develop the belief, all these things we're talking about. But we also have to stay the course. In order to reprogram or program ourselves, we do need to stay consistent. To create any new habits, it takes time. I'm not saying everything's going to take 20 years. I'm just using that as an example. Some things can change very, very quickly and very fast, especially if you learn to incorporate that belief system and that alignment and that balance. It can happen for you very, very quickly. I know some people that can manifest things in a very, very quick, fast hurry. And I've had that happen in my life many times. So it is possible. But sometimes those really big goals, those really big dreams seem so far out of reach that our belief system can never, ever fathom that. And so we'll never, ever have that. So you'll also realize the more you think about what it is you want and keep the dream in your mind and keep those thoughts and those affirmations and all of that energy going towards one thing or a thing, then that will begin to manifest in your life a lot more often. I've given everybody this challenge before. Try it out. Just simple little example. Start researching red Corvettes. Start looking at red Corvettes online. Seeing what they cost. Going down to the dealership, looking at red Corvettes. Just start thinking about red Corvettes. And all of a sudden, boom, you'll see them all over the place. It's not that they weren't there. It's that you are now in alignment with a different type of belief system. A different kind of thing that your subconscious mind is going to seek to support your new idea. So why not incorporate new ideas, stay consistent, align and balance yourself with the source, be clear, be consistent, have awesome intent, and you will find yourself in the greatest places you will can imagine, that you can ever imagine. I challenge you guys to really put this into practice. Try it out. Try it small. Try it something really small and see how well it works. And then you can move on to bigger and better things. Sometimes we have to develop our belief system in steps, and sometimes that's what it takes. That's okay. But getting started, staying consistent is the thing to do. All right, we talked about balance. We talked about alignment. We talked about belief. We talked about work ethic. All of those things are very, very important. And I challenge you guys to get on track with this. I encourage you guys to go to my website, lifebymazak.com, lifebymazak.com. On there you'll find products, services, podcast information, blog information, all kind of interesting things. I really do love working with people. I love to help people. In the process, I also learn. And many of the things that I've learned in my practice are little bits of everybody that I've worked with or that have helped me. And so I think that's what it's about. It's getting out there, sharing, learning, talking to people, helping people. And when you help people, you'll help yourself. I look forward to hearing from you. I look forward to working with you. Stay strong and live your life.